Do you ever find it difficult to get large decorative pots at affordable prices? In this video I'm going to show you an alternative that I've found to buy/make my own that has saved me a huge amount of money so far. So if you're like me, you've got a huge houseplant collection and you will often be potting up, so you'll need those larger decorative pot sizes. Or if you add into the collection and it's a larger plant, then again you're going to need a new decorative pot. So this one that I've got for illustrative purposes was, or should have been, about £9 or £10. Of course I got it on sale, but it should have been £9 or £10 full price, and this was kind of the size I was after, or maybe even a little bit bigger. This was from a fairly discount retailer, and if you're looking for this size of pot, I've also shopped in sort of hardware stores and seen these anywhere from like £15 to £30. And if you were shopping in even higher end sort of retailers, then you could pay even more for the pots. Now I needed about 9 or 10, so even at the lower end of £9 or £10, that would have cost me around £100 just for the decorative pots, which I don't have to spend on pots. So I needed to look for an alternative. So as an alternative, I decided to look at these wicker type pots, as I thought these would be more affordable than the ceramic or clay type pots, particularly for the size that I needed. And this is a very on-trend look at the moment, or in fairness it's quite timeless, the natural or boho look, which goes really well with houseplant styling. This type of basket was very readily available in shops, but not all of them were for plants. So this one isn't, or wasn't. This one doesn't have a plastic lining. Those that did have plastic linings that were designed for use with plants were still around the same sort of price, about £10, even upwards. I did find some for about 17, some for about 25, depending on the store that I was in, and I really shopped around in all the high street retailers I could find that might have sold plant pots. And I could have gone to a plant shop or even a garden centre, but I know the price would have been the same, if not higher, by buying them at these sort of more specialist stores. As I was shopping around, I kept coming across all these different ones that didn't have the plastic lining in, and these particular ones were at such a good price, I would have been stupid not to buy them. So these were originally £5, which even at £5 is still really reasonable compared to the 10 that I might have paid if I was buying it with the plastic lining. And they were on sale, so this was actually £3 down from £5, and these grey ones were £1.50 down from £5. So I ended up buying 5 of these and 5 of these and spending about £22.50 in total on pots. Really the only difference between this and the ones that are made for plants is the plastic lining. That's the only difference. And even some stores did have the same sort of design baskets, some with plastic linings and some without, but obviously the ones with the plastic lining had a much higher markup. So what I decided to do was obviously buy these at the sale price and then put my own plastic lining in, which was so easy to do and so quick to do. It really didn't matter about being neat and tidy necessarily, although I did try. It didn't necessarily matter about being neat and tidy because these are quite rustic looking or natural looking. So anyone can do it, and you really don't have to worry about your sewing skills or even use an adhesive and just stick it in the middle. So I'm going to show you exactly how I did that step by step, just so that you can see how quick and easy it was, so that you can do it with any basket, any fabric container that you find, and you can save so much money than buying ceramic pots or even buying specifically the baskets made for plants with the plastic lining by adding your own to any basket that you've got. So all you need are a few things. So you just need your wicker or fabric basket, your plastic for the lining, so you need to make sure that you've got a large enough piece to cover the entirety of the inner pot in one piece without any cuts or folds, because you obviously don't want the water to leak out. So this is just a bin bag or refuse bag, and this is large enough to do this size pot in one piece, and actually do more than one, maybe 2 or 3 of these from this one bag. This would have been a single-use plastic too, so it'll hopefully have a longer and more substantial life as a plant pot going forwards. Then you just need a needle and thread, so if you've got a coloured pot or a patterned pot, you might try and colour match if you wanted it to not stand out once you've threaded it through. Or if you don't mind it, you can make the threading part of the design. So I'm going to use some macrame or thin macrame cord, which I think is just cotton cord, and this will hopefully then match the natural type look of these baskets and also the corded design of the basket. You'll also want something weighted to hold the plastic down while you're working, so I've just got a bowl of a similar width to the bottom of the pot, plate, bowl, or even another plant pot that's a similar sort of diameter to the bottom of the pot, and then that'll just make sure that the plastic is held down, covering the whole of the inner pot while you're working on it and sewing it in. So just to make things easier, I've cut down one side of the bag and cut the lower seam off. So now it's one large sheet of plastic. This will also make it easier when I'm trying to do the linings for the other basket, as well, as I can be quite economical with how much I'm using each time. Now my head's going to be cut off for this next bit, just so that you can see exactly what I'm doing with the basket and the plastic. There is plastic covering the entire inside of the basket, and we've also got it all the way up to the edge or over the edge. Now what I'm going to do is just cut off the excess plastic that we don't need. You'll see we've got the plastic cut down to size, but it's still a very rough edge. Obviously you don't want a pot with plastic sticking up over the top. So now what I'm going to do is start to fold this over. So that's a lot neater than it was before, so all of the rough edges are now tucked in around the outside, and I've kind of used the difference of colour in the basket as a guide as to where the top of the plastic should be. That is enough for now to use it as a guide to go along with the thread and secure that in place. As I go along, I'll need to just sort of keep it held down and folded, maybe adjust it as I go, and we'll secure that to the basket. So now you just need your thread and needle. So I've threaded it through the needle, and I've got a knot at the end to stop it from coming through the basket. And I'm going to start on the inside so that the knotted bit of thread stays on the inside and it's not visible on the outside. So as I sew this, I'm going to aim for the area between the cords that make this up. You might find that if you are using wicker, it's quite difficult to sew through the actual wicker pieces, so try and get it in between if you can. So obviously I'm not going to make you watch me sew this whole thing, so I'm just going to skip to the end and show you the finished results. So then when you've done your last stitch, just make sure that you end on the inside of the pot so that any loose threads are hidden. All you need to do is just make a knot on the inside, so loop the needle through the last stitch that you made, and then put the needle through that loop that you've made to just do a standard knot, and maybe do that twice, so that's nice and secure there. And as you'll see with this part, this is actually one that I've made earlier, and one that I've actually just taken a plant out of, so it's been serving its purpose. You'll see the edge of the plastic is very neat all the way around, almost in line with the lines on the pot. And on the outside of the pot, the threads that you can still see are fairly uniform, still quite what I would call rustic. They're not perfect, but they're still quite uniform and they match the aesthetic of the pot. So again, if you were using any other type of pot, any other type of fabric, then you could use a different type of thread to match the colour. So if I used a grey or a tan brown, you wouldn't have maybe noticed the threads at all. But in this case, I've decided to use the macrame yarn so that they are still visible. Also, if you didn't want to sew the lining in, or maybe the fabric or basket is too thick to do so, you can also use something like a hot glue gun and just make sure that you stick it down. Still use the weight to make sure that it covers the inner of the basket completely, but sticking it down should be fine. You might even be able to stick it in the bottom of the basket as well, as if you're using an adhesive instead. So thread or adhesive, either way will work. So as I said, this has saved me a huge amount of money with the 9 or 10 pots that I needed. I paid $22.50 in total for all of the pots that I got, considering it would have been about 100 upwards if I'd have bought them ready-made or ceramic. Then that's a £77.50 saving, which is significant, and that will of course go towards more plants. Now I do also have this one, which I bought on sale with Next. This was actually meant to be, it's just another storage basket. This was actually meant to be £20, as it was, no lining, just a storage basket, £20, which I think is quite extortionate for what it is, considering I got these for £1.50. This one was £5 on sale, so I bought it for £5 on sale because the design goes quite well with these ones, the grey and white, and the plastic that it came in the bag, I'm just going to use that as the liner, so this will soon be sewn into the centre of it and it will become another plant pot. So I hope you found this video useful in showing you how to adapt any wicker or fabric basket into a plant pot and hopefully save loads of money in the process, money that you can then put towards new plants. If you do like saving money and also growing your plant collection, then check out our next video about how you can grow your indoor jungle for less or even for free. So I'll link that at the end for you. If you have found it useful, then please do give the video a like and consider subscribing. We'll have new videos every week, usually on a Sunday. And as always, thank you for watching Grow Your Wellbeing.